Week 11 is basically in the books, but it's not in the books yet because the game is still going on. So we're gonna talk about the games that aren't technically over. First, just for my team, just because sometimes Caesar asks. 8-3, got another win, first place easily. The annoying part though, which is relevant to this, is the guy who's tied with me. Although I have him on points, so I'm gonna be in first no matter what. But the guy who was also 7-3 was up by 2 points going into this game against Jake Ferguson. Jake Ferguson just got a concussion after getting 1.1. He's actually only up by 1.6, so he won by 0.5. So annoying. That probably won't matter for me, but still just annoying for the league. Just annoying for the league. He was playing against the last place team, 7-3 against 2-8. Just brutal. Absolutely brutal. As Rush goes back, gives it to Dowdle, who my dad needs points for. That's a point. Good job, Dad. All right, so in your game, we'll talk about what's not currently at 99% yet. The Pain Train Banditos game technically is 98%, but we're not going to track that. It would, because he needed Ferguson and Dowdle to go just unbelievably stupid off. Oh, and Tank Dell. Oh, and Houston defense. So he needed all of them to go off. With Jake Ferguson hurt, it's going to be almost impossible. He needs 52 points from Rico Dowdle, Tank Dell, and Houston defense. So he needs the most insane things to happen possible. We'll keep an eye on it. 98% is pretty fair. But then we go to El Grenas and Crucifiers matchup. El Grenas has CJ Stroud and Nico Collins. And Fairbairn, and he is down 7 points. So El Grenas probably going to win, but I've seen crazier things. I think 85% actually is a little conservative there, but we'll keep an eye out on that the last 2 minutes of the first half. And then that's it. So, because this El Professor we went with Jared game is officially over now, after Aubrey made that field goal. So, let's talk about the game that really just ended. El Professor is going to beat team we went with Jared about 130 something to 125. We went with Jared, then falls to 4-7. That's one of those we can't lose this games, and he lost it. We went with Jared. We've spoken about a good amount as being the team that we thought would squeeze in. And it's starting to get harder and harder to see that happening. The Puka comeback was working as intended. We thought that would be enough to push. We went with Jared all the way to, by the way, get a shorter name. Just get a shorter name. It's just hard to say we went with Jared every time. Team we went with Jared. We went with Jared. 6 syllables. El Prof. That's why I root for El Professor. He knew El Professor was too long, changed to El Prof. I'm sure the right way to pronounce it's like El Profe. But I was still okay with 3, even 4. We went with Jared's lead in the league for sure. Untouchables, dust in the wind. Everyone knows 4 or 2. El Grenas, team the Banditos. 5 is pushing it. It's pushing it. But team we went with Jared is crazy. Anyway, I'm happy I'm talking about saving breath while I go on a full rant about that. But yeah, I mean, it's a team of mid. It's a team of mid. There's too much mid here. Devonta Adams this year is mid. Stevenson this year is mid. I think Brian Robinson this year is above mid, but in the mid trajectory. No, Brian Robinson's good. I was kind of just desperate. Travis Kelce mid. Aaron Jones mid. Justin Tucker mid. Maybe not even. Jets defense mid. Like, I could keep going. The bench, Singletary ended up being bad. Anyway, Jerry Jeudy, potential hope for this team, potential future starter. You're not done at 4-7 in this league, but man, is it a bad break as they throw the ball to... By the way, I didn't accept the CD trade. I'm an idiot. I don't even want to talk about it. Actually, another guy accepted the deal while I was thinking about it. For someone else. It was CD for... The trade that ended up happening with CD for Garrett Wilson. All right, El Professor gets the win. That's what we should be talking about because El Professor goes to 6-5. El Professor had some doubters, and there are some surprising moves. I didn't even bother to learn how to pronounce this guy's name, but the Broncos' new running back, 4.5, clearly not the guy. Javante's still going to be apparently the guy. I don't know what to really make of that situation. I wouldn't want to be starting any of the running backs, but if anyone's still Javante. Joe Burrow is the savior for this team. You win because of Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow leading you right now to the promised land. The way that defense doesn't really stop that much and requires Joe Burrow to go off like that is really an ideal situation with the healthy receivers. There's no reason to think that he's not going to do that. Great throw, by the way. Not going to do that full time. You look at his team though, and obviously it doesn't have the firepower that you want in a competitive team. It's not even like you had real studs on bye. I think with CeeDee Lamb going down without Dak, he's not going to be this boom every week guy anymore. Brian Thomas without thumbs up. Brian Thomas without Trevor Lawrence, potentially. I don't know what the deal is there. DK Metcalf, just with JSN's emergence. Calvin Ridley with a bad quarterback play. It's just there's such a ceiling on all these guys that there's just no way this is a team that can really compete, I think, in the finals, honestly. So I'm not done chaining, obviously. There's a 6-5 team, but I just want to be realistic. Professor, this isn't the year. Even though you'll make playoffs. Okay. I spent a lot of time on that game. Okay. A game that was less close was Electric getting another win over Dust in the Wind, going to 8-3. I said Dust in the Wind's a one-and-done team. I still say that. I mean, the only way that doesn't happen is if they don't make the playoffs. It's just, this is a team of mid. I kind of put myself in a corner with the last team, a team of mid, and a lot of mid, but some good players. The only real bright spot here is JSN just absolutely going off. I think the rest of this team, like, you're going to have trouble getting me too excited about it. I mean, the guys even to be excited about, Hubbard, Rachaad White, they now have competition in the backfield. Brooks is coming back, and obviously Irving. And then George Kittle with this hamstring injury, do I think he's going to... Ooh, ow! Rico Dowdle, ow. Do I think that he's going to be... I don't think any of these guys are going to go to being ceiling guys, honestly. So I think this is a very mid team. As I'm going to keep saying it. I've been saying it every week. Whereas Electric, I mean, I've said it before. We have similar players. I have Mixon. I have McConkey. I thought there was a third. I guess there's not a third that we have in common. But obviously, I'm going to love that team because you also have Breece Hall. You also have James Cook. You also have Jalen Hurts. It's hard to do this while watching a game. I really should have traded for CD. He's so clear the first option there. I went for Debo. No, but Electric 8-3, obviously main competitor. I've said it before. It's not my number one team, but there's no way you could say it's going to be a team of the bye, and it's going to be a team that could make a run. So there's no way you could say that this team isn't going to be one of the teams that could be winning it all. They're an absolute contender. I just still obviously have my favorites, and this team isn't my favorite, and that's tough because I'll go into my favorite because my favorite just blew it to a 2-8 team. But I'm not bothered by it because the 2-8 team now has McCaffrey. The 2-8 team has Kyren Williams. The 2-8 team is better than a 2-8 team. And a part of that is Jared Goff, 51.5 points. So I can't really blame Team Chef Cesario, even though I still think this is the team that's going to win it all. They fall to 7-4. But a 136 performance is great. You know, you get another great game from Saquon. Kamara fluke no game because Taysom ended up taking all the touchdowns. You know, you don't get great performances out of a wide receiver group that will give you better performances. A.J. Brown, Zay Flowers, Deebo Samuel. I think this team's just so good. Every time I look at it, I'm like, wow, so good. I mean, Kyle Pitts, there is a reason for concern. 100%, I'm willing to admit there's reason for concern. That I will not hide from everyone. By the way, I was irresponsible and didn't start with the trade deadline trades that happened. So shout out to Dustin the Wind for making moves. Dustin the Wind ended up getting Dobbins and Mooney for McLaurin. I'm okay with that trade. I'm okay with that trade for both sides. And Caden Otten straight for JSN. I think obviously the JSN guy probably slightly up in a wide receiver heavy league, but I think both really good. Another situation where both are really good fits. If you need a tight end, Otten without Godwin in that offense is still going to be good, even when Mike Evans comes back. And JSN obviously going to have good weeks, but there's a lot of wide receivers there, so I'm okay with both trades. I actually don't have that strong of feelings for either one, but I do give shout out to Dustin the Wind for doing that. I don't think it changes my prediction for where you're going to go. I think it's ultimately a similar strength team because they were both fairly even trades. But I guess that's it. I guess that's it. I give kudos to you for trading away a tight end when you have Kittle still. So I think you made the right move. You plug in JSN. He's the only guy that made it good. So you got to give him a Dustin the Wind shout out for managing the team well. But I don't think overall strength of team is that much different. Because, you know, you give up a good receiver. You got a good receiver type stuff. Go to Daddle. My dad needs more points. There we go. And he dropped it. So with that being said, Electric goes to 8-3. Okay, El Grenos. That game's still active, so we will, and he's still down 7, by the way, because they haven't had the ball. So you got to hope to get that ball back. If not, 7 at the half, you never know. I definitely think El Grenos will win this game, and I think it's actually going to be a decent amount, but let's track it. A lot of guys looking because that's a very competitive game. The Banditos, you know what? Let's just do that game now. I just know El Granos is going to win. I'll do a follow-up recap if he doesn't. But El Granos obviously not getting much out of the Texans right now, and that's frustrating because it's making him a little bit nervous. But Gibbs, another great game. Cooper Kupp, another great game. It's not a team that you're certain about as far as strength of schedule. You go to 7-4, same record as my favorite team, Team Shift Cesario. But there's more question marks, I think, with this team. Obviously, you get Nico Collins back, and he's looking pretty good. I know we got a big play called back. If Nico Collins could go back to full strength, you team him up with Cooper Kupp as wide receivers, and then you have D-Hop as your third receiver. I think that's a very different situation than if you're dependent on a guy like D-Hop. Just because D-Hop, as we saw, I could see having good weeks and not as good weeks. And then with Bijan and Jahmyr Gibbs, I actually feel a lot better about the team. So I'm going to just stay with this team if Nico is healthy. If Nico's healthy, El Granos is a top 3 team. So we just need to keep monitoring. If Nico stays healthy, top 3 team. And I want to see more from him in the second half, and I think we will see more from him in the second half. So with that being said, obviously I'm higher on this team than Crucifier. Crucifier falls to 5-6 with a loss here. I said it's going to be a playoff team. I'm going to stick with that prediction as Aubrey's about to make another 40-yarder. Oh my gosh, he missed it. Aubrey never misses, and there's a guy in my league that texts. I have to text. And I'll let him. I don't want to make him feel bad. But yeah, I think there's a playoff team, but I think you're seeing the reasons why we don't believe in it as a finals contender. Not in the same conversation with El Granos, in my opinion. Garrett Wilson's going to have boomer bust weeks, especially with Devontae and how bad our offense is on the Jets. Kareem Hunt's going to be losing that role, of course. You could plug in James Conner, but you're going to have a hard time convincing me that this team has enough ceiling plays to contend. Obviously, you found out this week Pearsall is not the guy, so I don't know. You're gonna have trouble time convincing me. I don't believe in downs every week, especially with that quarterback situation. But you could prove me wrong. There's definitely it's an above average team, and that's why I'm saying it's a playoff team. I just do not believe there's a team that could beat the top 3 contenders that we've spoken about. I don't know why I had a negative tone while reviewing that team because I am pretty high on them. As Nico has a drop. So, next up is Pain Train, who falls to Banditos. Banditos goes to 6-5. Pain Train falls to a 4-7 record that you really can't afford. We at this point know that Dowdle's not getting those points that he needs. This team obviously needed more this year out of Tyreek and T. Higgins. He finally gets it this week, but it just wasn't enough. I mean, Derrick Henry's been carrying for so long. Jaden Daniels had a good season. They both don't have great weeks. Tank Dell with Nico Collins back. The question is, can he be a consistently good starter? I'm doubting it. I think he's going to have good games. He could, for all I know, he could have an amazing second half. He has the potential to do it. Weekly, I just don't know. I think at 4-7, it's hard for me to buy into this team making a run. Although I still think it's a top 5 or 6 team if the season started today. It's hard for me to really at this point envision it making a run. Definitely not going to done chain it, not even close. But I think that's just where I stand with this team. Whereas for Banditos at 6-5, I said I've loved this team for a while, and this is why. I mean, every single guy on the team really showed up this week. The only guy that didn't show up is a guy that you kind of knew might not, is Tillman. But that being said, you have a bench of guys who could fill this spot. I would personally consider... Oh, you know what? Sorry, your flex was a running back. I thought your flex was a wide receiver. So you actually know. You don't have great wide receiver depth. Quentin Johnson, I don't believe in. So that is the hole in this team. But I still love the team. It's same strength team to me as Pain Train, but Pain Train has a 4-7 record and you have 6-5, so you have to go with Banditos having a better chance at this point, unfortunately, for Pain Train. By the way, this is my longest recap ever. I don't even know why. I hope it's engaging enough with perspective here. I should have done an updated power rankings. I keep forgetting, but I'm basically doing that. I'm basically laying out I could do it right now. Team Chef Cesario, Team Electric, Team. What team I just said I love so much? Oh my gosh. Am I already forgetting this? I'm too stressed. I just said who it was 3. If Nico stays healthy, top 3. It's a team with Nico Collins. Who's the team with Nico Collins? El Granos. El Granos 3. Okay, anyway, so all right, there's an app. There's an app called Loop. Mainly Jewish people use it in the New York community. It's not big if you don't know about it, but you could set people up. people in relationships set single people up. My friend started it. Ooh, Zeke. Someone just, you get like a notification like this person's trying to set you up. So I just got set up with someone. If they're cute, I'm not gonna look. If they're cute, I'll Venmo someone in this league $5. If it's someone else, say yes to. Not bad, but not the one. We're gonna go with a not now. A not now. Okay. Also, that girls like men hinge so many times. Anyway, what am I doing? What am I doing? What am I doing? I'm really gonna open. I should just go to therapy probably at this point with how much I'm talking on this about other things outside of fantasy football. I lost my train of thought completely. Okay, so yeah, so we talked about that game. Banditos goes to 6-5. Yeah, okay. The last game, Untouchables is gonna win. The team I done chain Untouchables is gonna go to 3-8, and they beat a team Jeff Star. That has to feel good. If you're the team that I done chain and you beat the team that I say is my favorite team, that has to feel good, and you earned it. But it's too late. We talked about it. You got McCaffrey back. You got McCaffrey. It's fantastic. McCaffrey, Kyron, great running back group. Chase Brown makes it an incredible running back group. But it's a mid-wide receiver group. Mike Evans coming back. It's too late. And 3-8 is just too late. You actually have a pretty good team. You have a pretty good team, but it's just too late. The done chain stays on firmly. Very, very firmly. So, yeah, Team Chef Cesario, you know I'm not concerned with you. You're good. Debo's going to have better weeks. Zay's going to have better weeks. AJ, we talked about that. Okay. Well, with that, Rush goes... Misses. Okay. Cheers. Sorry for the long recap. Peace and love.